The house on Willow Creek stood as a silent sentinel at the end of a winding, gravel road, its white clapboard siding weathered to a soft gray and its wraparound porch sagging with the weight of decades. To the few who still lived in the dwindling town of Oakhaven, it was a place of whispers, a monument to a tragedy everyone remembered but no one discussed. For Maya, it was the key to a mystery that had defined her life. She had inherited the house from her grandmother, Eleanor, a woman she had never met. Her mother had refused to speak of Eleanor or the town, her silence a wall of grief and anger. All Maya knew was that her mother had fled Oakhaven at 17, pregnant and alone, and had never looked back. The official notice from a lawyer was the first time Maya had ever seen her grandmother's name in print. The key the lawyer had mailed her was cold in her hand as she pushed open the heavy front door. The air inside was still and carried the faint, sweet scent of dried lavender and old wood. Unlike the neglected exterior, the interior was pristine. It wasn't just clean, it was preserved. A crocheted blanket was folded neatly over the back of a floral armchair. A half-finished cup of tea, now just a dust-covered stain, sat on a coaster on a side table. It was as if Eleanor had simply stepped out for a walk 50 years ago and never returned. Maya's mother had died the year before, taking her secrets with her. The only clue she'd left behind was a single, yellowed photograph of a young woman with Maya's same defiant eyes, standing on the porch of this very house, laughing. On the back, in faded ink, it read, Eleanor, Willow Creek, 1973. Driven by a need to understand the woman in the photograph and the mother who refused to speak of her, Maya began to search the house. She found no diaries, no stacks of letters. Instead, she found the story in the walls. In the small bedroom at the top of the stairs, she noticed a faint line in the floral wallpaper behind the bed. She pushed, and a small, hidden panel swung inward. Inside was a shallow space, and within it a collection of objects. A smooth, gray river stone, a tarnished silver locket containing a picture of a handsome, smiling young man, a dried sprig of lavender, and a single, sealed envelope addressed to my daughter. With trembling hands, Maya opened it. The letter was not from Eleanor to Maya's mother, but from Eleanor to a child she never got to know. My dearest Anna, it began. If you are reading this, then you have come home. I write this not knowing if I will ever hold you, but hoping with all my heart that you will one day understand. They will tell you I made a choice. They will say I chose the creek over you. But the truth is, I never had a choice at all. The letter wove a tale of a love affair with the young man in the locket, a writer named Thomas from the city who had summered in Oakhaven. It spoke of whispered promises and a pregnancy that the town and Eleanor's strict, traditional family would not accept. Thomas had left before he even knew, called away by a family emergency with a promise to return. He never did. A telegram arrived weeks later. A train derailment. There were no survivors. My family gave me a choice, Eleanor wrote, her script becoming frantic. A discreet home for unwed mothers far from here and then adoption. I was to give you away and pretend you never existed. I would not. The night I was to be taken away, I ran. I hid in the old boathouse by the creek, waiting for a chance to escape this town. The rain was so heavy. The creek swelled so fast. I slipped. The current was too strong. Maya's breath caught. This was the tragedy the town remembered. The story of the shamed, pregnant girl who drowned herself in Willow Creek. But the letter had one more paragraph. I did not jump, Anna, I fell. And as the water took me, my only thought was of you. I fought for you. I fought so hard. This house, this land, it is yours. It is all I have to give you. It is not a house of sorrow. It is a house of a love that was real and of a fight I lost. Forgive me for not being stronger. Know that I loved you from the very first moment, and I love you still. Maya sat on the floor of the small bedroom, the letter pressed to her chest, tears streaming down her face. The weight of the town's judgment, the burden of her mother's anger, it all dissolved, replaced by a devastating, profound understanding. Her grandmother wasn't a tragic figure of shame. She was a victim of circumstance and a love story cut short. Her mother, Anna, had been raised by relatives who had fed her the town's narrative that her mother had chosen death over her. She had carried that rejection her entire life. Maya spent the next week not just cleaning, but reclaiming. She aired out the rooms, filled vases with wildflowers, and sat on the porch at dusk, listening to the whisper of the creek. She visited the town archives and found Thomas's obituary, confirming his death. She tracked down an elderly neighbor who, with tears in her eyes, confessed she'd always believed Aliner's fall was an accident, but had been too afraid to speak against the prevailing story. One afternoon, Maya took the river stone from the hidden compartment and walked down to Willow Creek. She stood on the bank, the same spot where her grandmother had fought for her life and for the child she would never know. The water murmured over the stones, a gentle, persistent sound. She didn't see a place of tragedy anymore. She saw a place of immense, unyielding love. The house on Willow Creek was not a haunted place. It was a sanctuary that had been waiting, holding its breath, for the truth to finally come home. Maya decided to stay. She would repair the porch and paint the siding a fresh, clean white. She would plant a garden. The house had held her grandmother's secret love and her mother's misunderstood grief. Now it would hold her peace. She had come seeking a ghost, but she had found her family's heart, still beating quietly between these walls, waiting for someone to finally listen.